I would like to share my experience with the ancient being Thoth. Thoth is a wisdom holder who belongs to Egypt. He's around 52,000 years old, who's also ascended beyond the three dimensions we know. He is considered an ascended master. His offering to ancient Egypt had to do with hieroglyphics, which is holy writing, and he was considered a priest, and he would channel the universe. He was a very cosmic being, a very galactic being, and he was a part of and is a part of the Galactic Confederation that is in affiliation with Sirius A and B, Pleiades, Orion, and the Andromedan Galaxy, the Lyra system, Draconian system, all these different geographic galactic regions of space. So in my yoga practice, I went pretty deep. It was an asana practice, something that I've never done. Usually I do the Kundalini sort of Shakti movement, but this was more restorative, deep relaxation, and that deep relaxation just like opened me up like tremendously. I didn't even realize that my psychic abilities, my psychic gifts were actually kind of somewhat blocked, right, due to just the pressure I was holding my physical body and my energetic field. So when I released the sort of tension, right, energetic tension, like pressure, right, that I was actually holding in my nervous system, because then when I started to do more nervous system, like repair, it was like I felt completely nauseous, like sick, like really, really sick, because I was holding on to a lot of pressure in the nervous system and I didn't even realize it. And part of this nervous system for me is caused tremors, like minor tremors that shoot up and down, like my hands, or sometimes they're in my legs, and it's uncomfortable. But when I did this restorative, it's like, oh my God, that nervous system I felt like so sick and nauseous, and but I could feel so much of a clearing, like a detox, and it was really, really magical. But when I was in this like deep like state of complete relaxation, kind of like in a yoga nidra like practice, so like complete surrender and focusing on awareness while being in the body, but like your body is completely sleeping, your mind is sleeping, but your awareness is like completely alert and paying attention. So Thoth, I met him, I was going towards this mountain. I don't know if this is a mountain on earth, right? It was kind of sort of like a rolling green mountain, something that maybe you would find in Russia. It was very big, very giant mountain, but there was a lot of greenery. There was snow at the top. It had nice forests, very tall trees, had a very, very sort of abundant wilderness that had a sort of a cool like temperature, right? It wasn't too hot, wasn't too cold, wasn't desert, it wasn't a jungle. It was very, very kind of to me like the Smoky Mountains, except it was much bigger than the Smoky Mountains. It was something maybe Russia or even another planet. And I kind of saw Thoth there, and to me, he looked like a Native American chief. I saw him as a Native American chief, and he told me that he has had lifetimes of being a Native American man, and he presented himself as a Native American chief. He had like, very dark skin, very brown, but very red as well. He was average height, almost like shorter than me, very long black hair, very wavy, like a Native American man. He had just very distinct eyes, very pure, very luminous, very distinct, very strong, warrior-like eyes. And he just had this presence of being a priest, and he's been a priest in all his lifetimes, basically. And he shares the knowledge. He's a wisdom holder, and he particularly helps awaken he told me he awakens the memory of people, right? He helps people to awaken their Sachic record, which is their self-knowledge, but also to awaken their full remembrance of their past lives. That's kind of his sacred offering that he's given is to help kind of jog people's memories and help like restore people's memories of their past lives so they can start to learn their lessons, evolve, and get out of being stuck, being stuck in life and in this third dimension. Being kind of fragmented and disjointed and kind of disconnected from yourself. So to me, he was a being that represents like a real sense of immortality in the way that he can really connect to all his lifetimes, and there's no real breakage, right, in his memory. It's like he has full memory, that he can access like just instantly, and it doesn't take much. He can just go there, right? He can go to ancient Egypt, he can go to Sirius, he can go to Pleiades and all these places that he's been to on his his journey. But he kind of showed himself as a very ancient being to Earth. He showed himself actually having been here on Mars as well in the earlier kind of sort of civilizations that kind of were on Mars before Earth. So, he also told me that he shared this holy writing, which is like light language, in Mars as well. There was like an Egypt and Mars as well as Earth that's connected to the Sirius beings who came from Sirius to Earth, that kind of are like African, beings, or, they're darker complexion, they're very strong, like muscular, but they're also lean. They can be tall, they can be very short, like the Pinga people, who are indigenous, like African, who are very small, but are very, very shamanistic, very wise, galactic in their consciousness, and definitely 5D kind of advancements going on. But he kind of he showed me coming from the Sirius. That's why he resonates so much with the star Sirius, because he came from Sirius to Earth as a leader, right? But his leadership is more about teaching, and he really loves children, like teenagers, young people in general, because he really likes to teach. He really enjoys teaching to those who particularly young people, right? He enjoys being an elder, you can say, and he's been an elder many lifetimes, teaching knowledge and philosophy, to humans, and he's even been a philosopher in many lifetimes as well, and he really focuses on them helping people to remember their past lives. Like he could have been like into psychology in past lives, past life regression, self-hypnosis. He could be really into trance, how to put people in trance and altered states of consciousness, like deep sleep and lucid dreaming. Like he's really into that kind of like psychology realm. When it comes to like the hypnosis type of arena of like the mind and how to kind of connect to that to access your memory, basically. So he's really kind of a wizard or magician in that way of real psychology with regressions and hypnoses and trances and transcendental meditations, and that was pretty common in Egypt. It wasn't weird to introduce past life regressions into like a therapy session. It was actually like pretty normal. Now in our days it's kind of, it's a little bit, I don't know about that. But he was really into that psychology stuff, like a master of psychology, like PhD vibe. But he also got into art, sacred geometry, and I'm just telling you what he showed me, and it's not like necessarily he showed me like he walked me through his Assachic record and told me this, that, and the other. It was something that I got just in looking in his eyes, like an immediate transmission, like a complete download of him just in his eyes. But he was really into art, like sacred geometry. He was really into painting. He was a painter in a lot of lifetimes. He's really a painter like Da Vinci. He's really into that Merkaba. He's definitely an affiliation with the Jewish religion, with the Kabbalah. I feel like he's been a Jewish man in many lifetimes, when going all the way to the Israelites in ancient Egypt. And he was also having lifetimes with being in the Israelites, and the whole kind of shift, liberation that happened from slavery to freedom. And he was a part of that leadership, teacher, right? He's so well rounded. I mean, lifetimes a priest of like cosmology, and he's a connection to the Black Madonna goddesses of the matriarchal times. I mean, his resume is like pretty big, pretty thick, of a lot of experience that he's had in all these lifetimes of 52,000 years, and probably more than that if we're looking at his other planets like Sirius and Pleiades and Orion and Lyra and deer beings and so on and so forth. But just on Earth and Mars, there's a situation going on where he's definitely been here. So, he is a person who has a birth like a bodhisattva, in the way that he has a real compassion and a real desire to want to help human beings evolve. And he very much volunteers to take a birth, to incarnate, not all the time, but, he will. I mean, I don't think he's taken a birth recently, not in the last 3,000 years or so, not in the Piscean age. But I do feel I'm seeing the age of the bull, age of Taurus, and I'm also getting the age of the ram, the age of Aries, which is probably even really in the age of Leo, really far back. But he also has been here on the age of Aquarius in many things, thousands of years ago, when he was in a civilization that's, it was very technology, it had advancements in technology, that such as the pyramids, on a completely different time on Earth. So he incarnates in times where Earth is receptive to the knowledge. So, or he'll incarnate in tribes, like he's very tribal, he'll incarnate with tribes. But he comes, when humanity is open, or there's an age of reason or age of enlightenment, or there's a renaissance going on where humans are open to knowledge. He won't really incarnate in those periods where humanity is really locked in and humanity is really fearful. But he does kind of come forward as an ascended master to help humanity have discoveries in science, math, astronomy, cosmology. I mean, he is a very advanced astronomer. He's advanced in a lot of things actually. But his area he's what I call a real PhD guy. Like, he loves to learn. I mean, he's always learning. And that's why, people looked at him in his, in ancient Egypt, where he had many, many lifetimes in ancient Egypt, like back to back to back, like 500 years just back to back, because he had so much fun, in this time of his life, so much joy, and, discovering, getting to share this discovery with people who are open-minded. He hasn't really come in, I would say, the Pisces age, because he can't share with anybody, not in with this European, kind of Romanesque medieval stuff going on, right? And even with the Middle East, where we think of the Babylonians and the Sumerians, and he really enjoys times on earth where humanity is open mind and open heart, because he has a really open heart, and he has a lot to share, and he kind of wants to be appreciated, right? Because there are many lifetimes where he's volunteered to help, but people just, at the time that people were not open-minded, open-hearted, warlike, aggressive, desperate, and they completely just they didn't even really appreciate him, or they tried to kill him, and all discredit him, slander him, and he was just like, okay, this is not, better luck next time, in a different, time period where humans are not, this, hostile, right? But, he was here, but, definitely, when you think of before Christ, and he saw Christ coming before Christ was even born. He can tap into prophecies. He's very much a prophetic dreamer, right? Like, he has the mastery of the psychology stuff, so he definitely knows how to tap into his dreams and lucid dreams, and he's definitely very prophetic, visionary dreamer, visionary. So, Thoth is, when I saw him, he had a red cloth around him, like a real red cloth. So, he's a very grounded person. He's very warrior-like. He had this red cloth kind of remind me of like an Aries vibe, like Mars. Mars is associated with Aries, and he kind of gave me this Aries vibe, and Aries, maybe Aries Taurus cusp type of thing, because he definitely seemed very, very pioneering, right? He does not mind being different. He does not mind being edgy. He doesn't mind being like the first one to discover something, right? He doesn't mind being innovative, or being a leader when, everybody's doing this craziness and he's doing something completely different. He doesn't mind being what we think of unique, right? Which is like abnormal or peculiar, or, he because he knows this wisdom is going to awaken people, and he knows that's what matters, so people don't get caught in what we call the matrix and get stuck into these fear that just keeps people reincarnating aimlessly again and again, confused and anger and just anguish and just like not even knowing what's going on, because he's seen humanity rise and fall. He's seen humanity kill other humans, kill humanity basically, right? He's seen warlike behavior. I mean, he's seen it all. He's seen all kinds of genocides. He's seen all kinds of mass cures, and over just plain stupidity, right? He would call it just plain stupidity, because people are closed-minded, closed to heart, and they don't want to listen. They don't want to listen to themselves, and they're just confused. So he's been around the block. He's seen all kinds of things, and it's saddened him, but he's very, like ascended master. Like he has a very warrior-like presence. Like when I saw him as a Native American chief, he seemed very like, he has a very strong discernment, like real like strong barriers, like boundaries, but he also has a real big heart, like very, very loving, but he also is very protective over his tribe. Like, he will not let people take advantage of other people, you know, especially if it's, you know, his tribe or something like that. He's very, very protective, but he also has this prince vibe, like this feminine, like goddess, like, you know, like, you know, a lot of people thought Prince was like gay because he was like, you know, dressing like a woman, and, you know, he was like, had this real feminine, like, woman, like he was some kind of goddess. The way he would dance and dress and just the way he loved, it just seems so feminine. But, you know, Prince was definitely straight. I mean, he loved women. It's just, he had a real feminine, like, he was a goddess. Prince was like a straight up goddess, even though he's a man. But that didn't mean he was gay, you know? It's just he really had a strong goddess, a real creative energy. And I think Thoth has that similar Prince vibe, like a real feminine energy. But then he can switch it and become super masculine, like a black bull, you know? But he really likes to be in that feminine energy. Like, he really loves to be that prince, like the dress up and the makeup and the hair and braiding the hair and the, you know, the jewelry and the stones and, you know, whatever, the adornment that just makes him look so beautiful and, you know, and pretty and gorgeous, right? He's into that. But he still has a very, very strong sense of, like, I am. Like, Thoth has a strong sense of I am. Like, I am, right? That red energy, that root chakra. But he's definitely connected to life and death, birth, creativity, creation. He's really grounded in the, you know, the navel, the pelvis, the, you know, the sexual energy. He you know, he's really has a high sexual energy, very fertile man. But, you know, I feel like he, you know, he really presents himself as a masculine, because he really enjoys, the kind of the workings of that masculine energy. But like Prince, you know, he does have that feminine energy as well. But, you know, he really enjoys that kind of the silhouette of the masculine, or presenting himself as a masculine, right? To the initiates, right? But he doesn't initiate people. He doesn't go seeking to initiate people. He will share the knowledge to people who come to him, and, you know, come to him with an open heart and open mind. He's like, he won't work with people who have closed mind and closed heart. He's just like, this ain't gonna work. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna remember. You're just gonna resist it all, and you're probably even gonna be frustrated, and you might even hurt yourself with the memory. It's almost like a past life regression. If you're not ready to see the truth, it's like you're gonna lose your mind. You know. So he's like, no, he will not do this. He will not practice and share these teachings of hypnosis and passive aggression and his sort of psychology practices that go beyond Sigmund Freud, like way beyond that, like original teachings. He won't share it to people who are afraid of the truth. And he's real straight up. He's real, like, if you're afraid of the truth, like, you know, I'm sorry, I can't help you. You know, there's some kind of, you need to have some kind of courage to come to him, you know. You know, you can't, you have to have some kind of vigor, some kind of nerve to you, because some of the stuff that he shows you is not, it's like the red chakra. It has to do with fear. It has to do with your phobias, your fetishes, your past life wounds, and your whatever karmas you're creating. Like, it's not necessarily light and love and we're gonna go ascend to the higher dimensions. Like, you know, he really does show you your karma, right? And a karma in a sense of, like, you know, showing you your all these lifetimes you've had, and showing you kind of what you're reaping, what you've sowed, and choices you're making, choices you've made, and all those kind of possibilities, and the fear that may be holding you back. So he's kind of a liberator of that kind of the area of, like, the mind, right? But he uses that creativity, that goddess, like that Prince concert vibe, right, to liberate the mind. It's very different from like a what do you call it, going into a therapy and just talking about the problem. Like, he likes to liberate through like, holy writing, which is like sacred geometry, or, through creativity, through creativity. But he's been a war leader in many lifetimes. I did pick that up on Mars. I picked up, first when I saw Thoth, I was kind of getting an Anunnaki vibe. Like, he's been warlike, in many lifetimes. He could have been a war leader, a war general. He knows about war. The strategy. He also knows about galactic war, and galactic conflicts, galactic treaties, something about Mars, some kind of galactic conflict or treaty that was made on Mars. He was a general or leader or something involved in that. He has a pretty, very expansive resume. It's like, he's been like a war general, and then he's been like a painter of sacred geometry, and then he's like a master of psychology, and then, and then he's been a priest. And it's like, whoa, these very different subjects that he's explored and he's mastered, basically, these areas of interest. But I would say his religion, if I had to pick a religion, he is Jewish. I would say Jewish. If I had to, I would say Jewish. I would say the Kabbalah. I would say, but he works with all the religions are really connected. So he resonates with Christianity, with the Bible, the Quran, Muslim, Buddhism. But I would say Jewish with the Kabbalah is one of the most ancient religions that I would say that's older than the Christ, sort of biblical times. I would say the Kabbalah with the Jewish and the Merkaba is something that he is, the rituals and the practices is what he knows, and he's participated in that for many lifetimes in Egypt, and the Jews in Egypt, and he's been around with the whole slavery stuff, and the enslaving of the Africans by enslaving from another alien race, in forcing them to work and mine for gold for their own gain and profit, and whatever these galactic beings wanted for their own, harvesting, whatnot. He knows about this stuff. He also knows why we came from Mars to Earth. I think he revealed to me, it was, I just saw it as Mars had this almost like red or orange, like, sky, and I felt like it had to do with something nuclear, like something collapsed, something just, toxins, like in the atmosphere, that beings were forced to leave Mars because it's like the atmosphere was like, I don't know, killing the plant life, the animals, and they, like, it was almost like a Noah's Ark type of situation, and they brought the, species to Earth, and had to wait, basically till now for it to clear out. Something about the atmosphere, I don't know if it's some kind of, like, just was, these beings couldn't, it was just damaging. It was like toxic, real bad. Almost like the electromagnetic field like broke or collapsed or something, and there's all this stuff like leaking or in the atmosphere, and it was just not good. So Thoth came to me, and what he showed me about myself in this meditation is he showed me like he put his hand on my forehead, like he pressed it real hard, almost like he slapped it, and he wanted me to wake up. Like he said, wake up, and he wanted to show me something about myself. And I went all the way back to a past life where I was a Jewish woman. I don't know if it was Egypt, somewhere in the Middle East, but it was definitely before Sumeria, definitely before, but it wasn't too far back, okay? I would say maybe like 5,000 years, I am not sure. But he showed me as a Jewish woman. I was brown, black, like kind of Middle Eastern woman, and we were living in this, like, I don't know, looked like huts, but they were not huts, made out of clay, or I don't know, made out of some kind of natural material we found in the area. And there was some kind of stuff going on, and I was a part of a rebellion, and it was me, and there was all these women, and we would meet secretly, like, at night, right at sunset, into like my little house or something like that. And we were in this rebellion, and he was showing me that I was a leader, and I had been a leader in many lifetimes. And he wanted me to remember that people follow me because they trust in me, because I am reliable, and I've proven myself to be reliable. And I lead people to safety, is what he said. I lead people to safety because my intuition, I listen to my intuition, while other people give into fear and doubt and, no, it's not possible. So something about this rebellion, it was all women, and it was, I don't know if women were being taken, if women were being, like, entrapped by other men, or women were gone just, in the night they were being gone, and it just, there were some difficulties going on, like slavery type of vibe. And we were, like, planning something. We were Jewish. I think it had to do with our religion, or something was just being taken from us, like, really brutally. So we were planning something, like, I don't know if it was an escape, but we wanted to bring our kids, our babies, to a better place, because we knew this is not working out. Whatever's going on, it's just getting worse. And I was kind of the leader of this rebellion, and these women would, like, protect me, because I don't know if word was getting out, or if there was, like, spies, and they wanted to know who the leaders were. So, but, he showed me very quickly this type of vision. And, it really just, it was very simple, very subtle, yet it brought so much impact to me, because it was like, not only did I see that, I also just felt this, like, real remembrance of myself and in my lifetimes in a very ancient time. I almost felt like this real remembrance of the knowledge I've gained in Egypt, and being a Jewish woman in Egypt and Middle East, and long before Jesus Christ, like, long before that, and, really being like him in some way, a teacher of, maybe working alongside him. Maybe I have worked with him in his spiritual teachings in past lives, and the teachings of, like, with the knowledge of how to cross through dimensions, is what I'll say, is what he teaches, how to cross through dimensions. And he also showed me that I went to the same place that he went to when he ascended. Like, he said something about, I also ascended into the 7th dimension with him. I don't know, like, I've been there, or I was there, or I am there, I have no idea. But he said that we both are, like, I have ascended with him to this other place. And it's almost like there's these beings who all, who kind of, the Bodhisattva, they come here, they do their work, they ascend the 7th dimension, they, and it kind of has to do with the 144,000 light workers, and how, that's not that many compared to, 7.7 billion people. But he also said that there's a group, almost like 44, something like 44, or 33, 22, like I'm resonating with these numbers, that has to do with Egyptian ancient beings, old souls that have some kind of knowledge. It almost is like Merkaba, like Da Vinci meets Tesla vibe, but it's very ancient, and it's teachings that were lost or stolen or purposely suppressed, or really suppressed in people when the slave stuff started happening with these other controlling ETs that wanted to dominate and control humans, and wanted to stop the human growth and evolution spiritually, to keep humans trapped in this more 3D vibe. But that's not going to happen. Try, but it doesn't happen. Because the spirit it's too miraculous to just kind of stay trapped in this 3D vibe and these kind of illusions that really do nothing for the soul and the spirit and the body. So these ancient knowledge, something about the Merkaba, close to the Kabbalah. I'm not Jewish, so I've not really studied much about Jewish, just Christianity, and Buddhism, and working with Hinduism as well, the Sikh, but not so much Muslim or Jewish. But I do resonate with the sort of ancient past and the origination of this knowledge or religion, and there's these beings that like Thoth that have some of these teachings about how to cross through dimensions, and it's very much kind of practiced in Egypt, very shamanistic, but it's very unique kind of teachings. It originates from Sirius, from Mars, go from Mars then to Sirius, and then it originates from another galaxy. I'm hearing Andromedan, but I feel like it's something different than this, but I don't know where. And he was just showing me that I was a part of this group. It was like a group of initiates, but it was a group of like teachers, like professors, like real professors. And it was just, I don't know, it's just such a marvelous experience that happened like such a short time, but it was like, just that 10-minute, or I don't know if like 20-minute meditation became like 20 hours of just information that I received. So I wanted to share this, to kind of, for those of you who want to connect with Thoth and have the open heart and the open mind too, Thoth can, like, he's a great teacher, a great professor of this, these ancient teachings that, had to do with the Merkaba that are, pretty much withheld and very suppressed in us due to control and manipulation and slavery and all this stuff. But he can help you remember, if you resonate with this earth and you resonate with being a part of this ancient civilization of Atlantis and Lemuria, he can help you to sort of jog your memory and start to remember kind of your galactic sort of movement with time and space. He can help you to remember your interdimensional kind of journey, because we're not just 3D. We actually don't stay in the 3D long. Those who stay in the 3D long is usually because it's like they're trapped, right? Lifetime to lifetime, not knowing what's going on, what they're doing. But most of us, we don't just, stay in the 3D. We actually ideally move to the 5D, and then we accelerate into 7D and 18, 13th. And then we go to other higher, lower octaves. We don't, it's like hitting the same note again and again on a piano. It's like, that's not really music, music is more dynamic than that, right? I mean, it's technically music, it's an experience, and it's just as important as the fullness of it. But, interdimensional traveling is like learning how to play a chord, and then learning how to play the same chord on a higher octave or a lower octave, and then learning how to play these different chords together, right? Major, minors, and then getting these kind of melodies, these different kind of notes, and that's kind of how he sees interdimensional journey is you're basically playing each note on a piano is like a dimension, right? And a chord is like multiple dimensions, like a third, fifth, seventh, or third, fourth, different, there's different dimensions in the third, and there's different dimension in the fourth. And you kind of play with them, right? And you can move into them and you can move out of them. And he kind of shows how do you move into them? How do you move out of them? How do you go to higher ones? How do you go to the first dimension, right? Which is like that kind of everything is, accessible, right? It's that infinite, right? And then 13th is like the, where you come out of, the 12, which is, 12 notes type of thing. And you get into a new type of complete new dimensional kind of octave of experience and reality and infinity, and it's all woo. But he teaches about that. How do we cross through these dimensions? How do we cross through these ages and errors of ourselves successfully, right? And how do we let go of things and that no longer serving us in these new dimensions? And what do we need to do or be in the mind to kind of be able to hold these frequencies to give birth to new dimensions? He really is like, how do we give birth to new dimensions? How do we give birth to new realities on Earth, right? How do we make that quantum leap, right? He's been here when we were like at rock bottom with consciousness, when we were falling, declining in consciousness. He was there when we were rising in consciousness. He was there when we were at an advanced civilization such as Atlantis, Egypt, pre-dynastic Egypt. He was there. So he's seen like, okay, the kind of the mistakes we've made in raising consciousness, technology, and lowering consciousness in the dark age. He's seen the kind of mistakes we made in damaging ourselves, destruction, poor decisions, all these type of things, and he kind of shows us, okay, that there's more to what we're holding on to within this dimension. He helps us to broaden our minds so that we're not just kind of clinging on to this timeline or this dimension that, we could play it out, but it's not necessary. We can actually kind of transmute it, or we can actually rewrite it, right? So it's real alchemy in that kind of vibe. Real alchemy of how to move the Merkaba, which is the body, mind, spirit, in such a pattern and way that just like shamanistic movements that just open up portals or open up energy, higher energy, that if you stabilize it, if you secure it, anchor it, it can actually shift your entire population into a completely new paradigm of thought, feeling, and expression. And that's kind of what he wants to help you with, and what he kind of opened up within me. So I'm going to leave you guys with this.